Our involvement with the Bangladesh School Project has been going on since 2003. And for those of you that need a little help with geography, Bangladesh is on the India subcontinent in South Asia. And prior to 1947, it was part of India. It was the part of India known as East Bengal. And with partition of the country after World War II and independence from Great Britain, the country that is now known as Bangladesh was East Pakistan, and there was also a West Pakistan. And in 1971, there was a conflict where the people in Bangladesh basically separated from the other side of Pakistan in the west and became the independent country of Bangladesh. And within Bangladesh, our project is in the northwest area, and I'm not sure that you can see the lettering on this map, but you can see that where the light color is Bangladesh, and almost completely surrounding within about 50 to 80 miles of our project in each of two directions is the country of India. And when they did partition back in the 1940s, India was okay with the separation into Pakistan and India, but they were very concerned about another neighbor to the north, China. And so when Bangladesh or East Pakistan was created, they wanted India to completely buffer and be available to protect the border as between India and China. So that's why you get this sort of the strange looking map in terms of one country almost encircling the other country. The way we get to Bangladesh is that we fly into Dhaka, which is where the international airport is, and then we travel by car about 200 miles to our project site, or we can travel by train. It matters not which way you go. Those 200 miles takes about 8 hours, either way, by train or by car, because of the train moves slow in some areas, it has many stops, and the car is on a narrow road, and it's completely crowded with buses and bicycles and other modes of transportation. The size of the country of Bangladesh we find interesting. It's 56,000 square miles, and the size of Minnesota is 79,000 square miles. So this country of Bangladesh would fit within the borders of Minnesota and have room left over. But the population, 155 million people. So if you want to imagine yourself at the grocery store and having 29 people in front of you in line or at the gas station or every place you go, that's the relative size of the density of population in Bangladesh as compared to a state like Minnesota. And the population of Minnesota being 5.3 million. And if you compare that to the population of the United States, it's approaching almost half the size in population of the United States. And if Pakistan in the west and Pakistan in the east were still one country, it would actually be larger in population than the United States. So that's just a little bit of geography and demographics to keep in mind. Our personal history with the project is that I first went there in 2002, and to tell you how I got there, why I got there, would be a program in itself. So just take my word for it that I got there in 2002. And Nancy was able to come along on another trip with me in January of 2003. And one of the things that was very notable to us was the number of children that we saw every day in our area, which is in a rural area of northwest Bangladesh, and the number of children that were not in school. And we were working at a project that had a school and had very few children in it. And so we had trouble with the math in terms of we were going into school classrooms at our project site that had 5 or 6 children in the room, and then we'd go to the village and we'd see these children that were not in the going to school at all. So we started a program to provide some assistance, some financial assistance, because that was the main barrier for access to school. And in 2003, we started providing scholarship funds, and we had 10 girls enrolled in this project school called the Lamb English Medium School in 2003. Fast forward to 2015, which is our most recent trip to Bangladesh. And those little girls that you saw at 4 or 5 years old in 2003, well, guess what? They got older, and so did we. And the girl in the very center, in the sort of the pink clothing, is the same girl that is second from your left, is Ponina. And this picture in 2003 was taken at the school. And one of the things that we learned early on was that these children were coming to school hungry. They did not have money or food for breakfast. They would usually just have one meal a day, and maybe some leftovers later in the day. And so we learned very quickly that if they were to have any chance at all in school, we also had to provide some money for food, which we did. And they enjoyed coming to school, but the snack break was even more important to them. And so this was in 2003. So you can see that the girls have gotten older. And what you see in the background here, this isn't one of those drop-down sets that you go to on some travel excursions. This is actually very typical of the villages there, with the cow and the either mud or brick houses in the background, some with tin roof, some with straw roof. And Nancy is on the right there with the young ladies. And the straw pile behind her is actually rice straw. This area is all rice-growing country. Some other quick facts about Bangladesh, that in terms of the overall population, in Bangladesh, the number of people under the age of 15 is almost 1/3 of the population. In the United States, that demographic is about 20% or 1/5. So you can see that from a population standpoint, there is quite a young country. And the good news about having a young country is that there's going to be plenty of people for a workforce as these people under 15 become teenagers and adults. The challenge is that the government and institutions in Bangladesh are not able to keep up with that demographic and population in terms of educational costs, which is one of the reasons why we've become involved over there. You can see that in the United States, you have 80% of the people that are providing resources for education. In the Bangladesh, you only have a smaller amount of older people that are working that can provide the revenues to build schools, to hire teachers, and those types of things. The other thing is that the over 60, only 6% of the Bangladesh people in the population are over the age of 60, and this is in part due to the lifespan, which is much less than in the United States. It is at about 60. And, but you can see in the United States that we have 18% of our population over the age of 60, and that has its own rewards and challenges with that. The other statistic I would point out here is on the primary school. The country, as do a lot of countries, does a very good job of enrolling children in elementary school. They don't do as good a job of keeping the children in elementary school. And in Bangladesh, the number of children that stay in school to get to secondary school, which actually starts at grade level 6 in that country, is only half the children that start school at the current time. In the United States, it's almost the same. 96% go into secondary school. And so when we started out, we were feeling real good about ourselves being able to get more children in elementary school. And now as 10, 12 years have gone by, we are seeing some of the reasons why children in Bangladesh drop out. The other thing I would mention is that in that number of 51%, there is a gender gap. That number is composed of about 60% girls who drop out compared to about 40% for boys. And one of the things that we learned, and we learned this in part through our own experience, and we learned it through Rotary, is that one of the reasons that girls drop out of school early is that when they get to be teenagers, the challenges due to a lack of feminine hygiene products has a large influence on the ability to stay in school. And we were sort of aware of this as our girls became older, but it was really brought home to us about a year ago when President Darrell came back from the international conference in Australia. And at one of the meetings, or maybe more than one of the meetings, he mentioned his experiences as having gone on that international convention event. And one of the programs he went to was put on by the founder of an organization named Days for Girls. And the Days for Girls organization is dealing with the lack of female hygiene products in developing countries because that girls often miss 3 to 5 days of school a month. And then when they go to school, the bathroom facilities are typically very bad, which is even one less reason to go to school because there's no way to deal with hygiene needs. And so they have developed a kit. And the Days for Girls kit is something that a year ago I knew absolutely nothing about. And today I'm pretty close to knowing more than I want to know. So I'm gonna let my good friend and wife of 48 years explain this next segment of the program. Oh, just in case that you have a further interest in this, if you just Google Days for Girls or daysforgirls.org, you will advance your knowledge in this area greatly. It's a very good website and tells the story quite well.
Took a few more in March when we traveled there again, and then I could get some feedback, and it was all smiles. All our girls were happy with this. The way these kits are made is through sew-a-thons. Some of you know Judy Johnson from Maple Grove. She came back from Sydney pretty much on fire with this idea. And so at our church alone, we've had 3 of these, last fall, last winter, and one recently. And women come in, and as Dorothy said, they had how many machines the other night?
Yeah, 12 there left.
Yeah, people just come in and sew, and they make the various components. And then some people help iron. This is the Iron Man. If you don't sew, there are other jobs. He was doing a great job. He was doing a great job. And then we walk around a table and we put all the components in piles and we slide things into these bags. It includes a washcloth, a bar of soap, a couple of panties, and then the shields and the liners. So here's an assembly group at Nativity Lutheran where we go. and as well with our counterpart colleague Rotary Club in Dhaka. We had them assemble the kits in March that went up to the project area. So here are these Muslim men and a gal from Great Britain who are walking around the table and putting all this together. Kind of an interesting cultural experience to be there, but it all went just fine. Once we have the kits assembled, we then work through the schools that we have relationships with. And we bring them to the teachers. In the center of the picture is our friend Parul, who's one of the staff people at a school that we have worked with. And next to her is my niece, who was with us on the trip as well. And she has been very helpful, Parul, in talking to the girls and giving them the education, not only about their bodies and what's going on, which is important, but also how to handle these and take care of them. They have to be washed. They should be dried in the sun because of sanitary reasons, but if you put them outside, they kind of look like a hanky, so there's not a big taboo about, you know, reusing these, and they will last up to 3 years, which is wonderful because then there's no disposal like you would have if you had commercial products, which they have no place to deal with anyway. So here we are talking to some of the young girls at this school and giving them the instructions before we pass out the kits. And here's a happy group of young women and teachers. The adult women love these too. And so we had enough we could share with some of the teachers on the staff. And now Steve's going to talk to you about why there's a motorcycle in this picture.
Thank you, Nancy. And one of the opportunities that we had through Rotary, in addition to providing funding for the kits themselves, and by the time you just get the materials together with the flannel and the cotton and the undergarments and the polyurethane barrier, it's about $10 per kit. And we're pleased that the Rotary Club of Brooklyn Park has helped provide funding to the Maple Grove Club and to Nativity Lutheran Church for providing these kits. But we also had an opportunity during the past year through the district small international grant program with contributions from this club and the Maple Grove Club to match with district funds, and we got enough funding for 2 motorbikes. And the reason that this is important is because we go to a very remote part of the country, and our goal is to reach the young ladies who live at the end of the road where there is no road. And there is a lot of villages in Bangladesh where it is not possible to get to by car. Up until about 15, 20 years ago, there were virtually no cars in this part of Bangladesh, and so consequently there are no roads. But with the motorbikes, we can do that. We work with 2 schools, the Bangladesh Livingstone School, and then we work with a group of schools that are sponsored by the Catholic Diocese of Dinajpur Province. And the man in the picture behind the motorbike that I'm handing the kit to is Father Roby. He is responsible for about 26 schools that are out in villages only reachable by bicycle or motorbike, and there's over 4,000 families in his school system. And he has a staff with him. The woman to his left is one of the sisters in the parish that is a healthcare worker. And then to her left is a woman who is a tribal person who speaks the languages, the local dialects of the people that out in the far reaches. So thank you to this club and the district for providing the resources for the motorbike.